All right, welcome to Sports Scouts. I'm Joey Goodser.
I'm Michael Rowe.
And we're recording this, our first traditional episode post-spring break on Thursday, April 4th, 2019. We will get caught up on all the latest college basketball action. We'll talk NHL and NBA playoffs, LeBron James, Bryce Harper, and more. But first, Michael will give you some scout scores.
Yeah, so athletics are already up and running here at Lake Forest High School after following the break. And so during the break, the boys baseball team went 2-1 on their trip to Tennessee. More recently, however, the Scouts were unfortunately swept by Mundelein, with the Mustangs winning 5-3 on Monday and 8-3 on Tuesday. They most recently played Hersey in a makeup yesterday, and will be resuming conference play against Lake Zurich next Monday. And they defeated Hersey 9-6 on yesterday. So girls softball took on Mundelein Monday and will be facing Warren next Monday. Boys track and field will face Warren on Tuesday for senior night here at the high school, and will be at an invitational at Vernon Hills next Saturday, the 13th. And girls track and field were at Warren Tuesday and will be up against Waukegan and Mundelein on Monday. Boys water polo played Buffalo Grove on Tuesday and will face Warren today. And the girls water polo was at Buffalo Grove Tuesday and are playing at Warren today as well. Boys volleyball played Mundelein last night and will be squaring off against Maine South today. Boys lacrosse played against Lakes yesterday and will be playing at Culver on Saturday. And today the girls lacrosse plays at home. And the boys varsity tennis will be in Highland Park on Monday. And lastly but not least, the girls badminton team will be at Stevenson this afternoon.
Thanks, Michael. Those are your scout scores. And if you want more on the latest in LFHS sports, check out the latest articles, such as the most recent baseball recaps. There's one of the Tennessee trip, and there's one of the Mundelein series that Shaw put up. So check out that if you want to hear more details about all the latest in Lake Forest High School baseball. And there'll be more sports articles up in the future about more sports this week on theforscout.com. And if you didn't hear the sport you wanted to hear, or we screwed up somehow, or we don't have the scores, which we don't have a lot of scores lately, so make sure you send in your scores and informative news to sportscoutspodcast@gmail.com. That's sportscoutspodcast@gmail.com, so Michael can give it a shout out. And let's go on to national sports and start with showing me what you got. Okay, so as always, I'll get started here. My topic I kind of want to bring up here is an interesting one, kind of some recent news, and we have a wide variety of news coming up on this show, because we were gone for a week, so we have a lot of things to cover. But this is kind of a recent story, and just kind of brings up an interesting conversation. So there's been a lot of talk about money and the NCAA lately, and how college schools are using money. And just recently, actually 2 days ago, Illinois joined the list of college football programs that's going to be selling alcohol at games, which is an interesting development that we've seen at a lot of schools. And they're the sixth Big Ten school to do it. And this is definitely has been an interesting development, at least for me, as from the perspective being a college football fan. And I think that at least in my opinion, I would be hoping that formal alcohol sales at college sporting events, especially college football games, I hope that it doesn't grow as much. I think that it's probably inevitable that it will. I hope we can enjoy the span of time before it does, because I think that alcohol already has its presence at college football games and college sporting events. But I mean, there's the obvious perspectives of A, safety, and B, just the schools profiting more while the players aren't making anything, which is an entirely different conversation, which we've talked about before. I think that the topic that isn't brought up is that it's kind of an inconvenience as far as the college football experience. And I think that the NFL has some setbacks right now as far as the fan experience, and they're trying to draw fans in. And I think one of the great things about college football games is that basically, there's no worries about beer sales that cause people to get up and out of their seats and come back to their seats. Honestly, I'm a season ticket holder at a stadium where you're pretty locked in. If there were to be beer sales and people were to be walking in and out of their aisles as much as they probably would, that would be incredibly inconvenient and make the game experience a lot worse. So I just hope that this development doesn't continue too much, although it probably will. So that's one headline and something interesting to keep track of.
I think it's kind of ironic too that Illinois, out of all schools, that
there's been plenty of jokes about that. Yeah,
just how bad they've been since like the last decade. Like in every sport, it seems like for men's at least. I don't know how the women's teams have been doing, but I just know for men's at least that every sport has just been brutal for the last like decade probably. And
yeah,
there's a lot of irony
it's been a hard decade. There's been a lot of joking on Twitter about that for sure. And I think that's reasoned, and I think that they probably, the schools that do it have a set of reasons to do it, and it's often a very, very recommended thing. I just, I hope with some of the bigger schools, it doesn't become something too. I don't know. I guess it's just a personal grievance that I have, because I don't know. I feel like alcohol already has
people will get it already.
It already has its giant presence in college sports. So I don't know if it needs to be sold at games to make that an extra inconvenience to the game watching experience.
Yeah, right. So mine is this week, of course, the Cubs. Yeah, we're gonna dive right into this right off the bat this morning.
This is gonna be a big conversation.
Yeah. So I just pulled it up, and I just want to show you the numbers right now. So after they lost last night 6-4 in Atlanta, which the Cubs were up 4-2, I believe, in the 7th inning or 6th. It was one of the later innings, but in total, the Cubs bullpen has allowed 17 earned runs on 17 walks, 20 hits, and 17 in the third innings through 5 games this season. That's an ERA of almost 9 and a WHIP of over 2. So, yeah, I mean, people say, well, the easy fix is go sign Craig Kimbrel. It's not that easy. The Cubs bullpen, all the guys that were supposed to be, quote unquote, the guys like Pedro Strop, Carl Edwards, Steve Cishek haven't done anything this year. I mean, of course, I'm not trying to overreact here about the bullpen. I mean, it's only been 4 it's been 4 games, already. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like that the bullpen, the Cubs management didn't do anything all off season, which, I mean, it just kind of was anticipated that this would happen, and then probably maybe not so early in the season, but later than not, the Cubs were gonna find themselves in quite a bit of a pickle here with the way they've structured this bullpen, and they haven't done anything to help themselves out. And I mean, you can't rely on Edwards, Strop, Cishek to with the game on the line, and with a guy like Brandon Morrow who can never seem to be on the field. There's just so many questions and a lot of pressure on putting on guys like Carl Edwards, Steve Cishek, that have not really had to deal with being a closer on a team that there's so many eyes on the team, and there's just a lot of pressure, I believe, for them. And if I just don't think that this bullpen's ready, honestly, for the next step they need to take.
Yeah, I think that this is a huge disappointment out of the Cubs right now, and I think that that's reasonable because this has been such a long-lasting problem. I think that there were 2 main problems coming out of the Cubs season last year. The first one was the hitting issues. There was so much hitting inconsistencies. And then the second one was the bullpen. The issue is the hitting issue was at least somewhat dealt with as Chili Davis was fired. We got our hitting coach replaced. That's kind of under new management now, and I think it's been doing okay. I don't know. I think it's too early to judge that and say that there's significant improvement or nothing's happened. But things look okay in that regard. But I mean, even though like the bullpen was like a first ballot issue for the Cubs going into this year, they really didn't do anything about it, and I think that now they're seeing the effects of it. And I mean, I think that you're right as far as just there's not going to be an easy fix to this. This is like a long term. They have to build up a full bullpen. I think of new pitchers that will be able to make a difference. So
signing Craig Kimbrel would be nice, but
yeah,
I mean, there's so many other factors right now they have to worry about first.
It would be just the beginning of probably a long bullpen rebuild. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of unfortunate that they didn't do it when they had time to do it with spring training and earlier. But I guess they're gonna have to try to start doing it very, very soon. And start it in the smallest way possible. But it's definitely going to be a big concern and probably be number one on the list of problems for this season. So it's a disappointing start for that reason, I gotta say.
It definitely, and it just magnifies the problems. I mean, and defense too. You see all these errors. I think we had 6 errors the other night. The first game in Atlanta. So after I said 4 games, but 5 games now.
That was a bad night.
Yeah, the 4th game of the year. The first game in Atlanta the other night. Yeah, that was. I think we had 6 errors or something like that, and it just doesn't help the pitchers at all. And it's been a total mess. And the offense has actually been probably the best. Probably the bright spot for us.
Probably the most consistent thing.
It doesn't matter if you can't score any runs, so, or if you can't not give up any runs with the pitchers. So, yeah, definitely it's just been a mess so far, and hopefully, I mean, it's 5 games. I mean,
right.
It's kind of it could be
an
overreaction.
I mean, the real conversation is, should we start worrying about this? I think that we should.
Yeah, I still think that it's going to be a problem, though.
Right.
Definitely.
I think, this is the thing. We have a team, as I said, that had hitting issues last year. They're going into this year, and they've solved those issues. But basically, the way that they have to play games now is they have to just go crazy in the first couple innings to just have as much cushion as they can before the bullpen comes out and starts to let things up and let things bleed into a close game. So I mean, that's not a good way for a team that had hitting issues last year to play.
Put a lot of way too much pressure on guys.
Puts way too much pressure on guys who are trying to get back into the swing of things and back into being good hitters again, like even your star players like Chris Bryant, as you said. So I don't know. It's a big issue. We're gonna have to see what happens. I'm hoping that they can turn things around. Maybe we get lucky. Maybe this is just a bad start, but I mean,
hopefully that's the case.
I mean, hopefully that's the case. I hope I'm wrong, but it doesn't really seem like it, and I feel like they need to take action. So yeah.
Also, what got lost yesterday was David Bodie signed a 5-year extension. For $15 million. I mean, congratulations to him.
Gonna bring that up later. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, he's definitely. It just kind of shown that, I mean, even how low you are in the minors doesn't really, like, for how long he's been in the minors. That's just great for him to get his shot and show the Cubs organization what he's got. And they were right that he was a good investment for him. Yeah,
and I think that that's somewhat of a good move, and I think he deserves it. I like the player. I think that there was a. We did get a Ryan Peters call that we're not going to play because we have another set of calls. But it's more recent. And he did basically say, like, David Bodie's a great player, but we need to work on our bullpen. And I would 100% agree with that. I think that needs to be our top priority right now. And so to see headlines like David Bodie signs an extension, you're just kind of sitting there like, okay, that's good, but there's a way bigger problem that's right in front of us right now. So I hope the Cubs can deal with that because we're going to need to before, things start to get more exciting, I guess, than April baseball. So, yeah. So
it's like a must-win now all of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden becomes tense here. And, that's not something you want in April. I mean, that's not a good way to start the season.
Definitely not, no.
No team is ready for that yet. So, yeah, that's show me what you got, and now let's move into news. So to get started here, since we are football guys more than anything, I chose this headline just to get us started because it's an interesting one. Basically, we've been covering them for a little bit for a while, but some surprising news came out of the AAF as Bill Polian announced with disappointment that the Alliance of American Football is immediately going to suspend operations. So this happened a couple days ago, which was probably a surprising headline to see. It's just all of a sudden the AAF is not going to be a thing anymore. While official reasons were not explicitly given, I mean, based on what Bill Polian said, who's, he's obviously one of the leading forces of the Alliance of American Football, it seems pretty clear that the cause of the action was kind of a financial thing and that they were, they're trying to be able to fund it, and it wasn't working successfully. They got the owner from the Carolina Hurricanes to invest a ton of money in the league, and that seemed like kind of a desperate move. And, they didn't really obviously say that, but in hindsight, it kind of seems like that viewpoint was correct. So, no more Alliance of American Football, I guess. So, Michael, what does this mean in general for alternate football leagues going forward and all those projects?
Yeah, so I believe the XFL is going to start in 2020, I think.
Which I'm super excited for, by the way. That's going to be fun.
Hopefully that one, I guess, they can learn from the AAF. But I guess I'm not really surprised at all because if you have like some, I guess you could call it like minor league football.
Yeah,
but
that's
like
true.
I was kind of expecting this. All the money that we've heard to start the start of their season that went into this league, it just seemed like kind of inevitable sooner than later that that this would happen, just because like the attendance, like you turn on a game, like there's like 20 people there. But
yeah, there were. I mean, the attendance wasn't great. I think that I don't know.
I think like the first weekend was like everyone's like getting really hyped about it, and then it just ever since you just don't hear about anything
Right.
AAF.
I mean, I think that here's the thing. I think that it was some fun, good football that I think people like to watch.
Kind of just came out of nowhere.
I just don't know if it was. Yeah, and it wasn't like a joke like some of these projects turn out to be. It was actually decent football, at least in my opinion. And I think that fans loved it. It's just the line was drawn where fans were not interested in going out of their houses to go see games.
Oh, definitely.
And that's where the problems take place.
Yeah, I mean, guys too. I mean, I guess what's great about it, kind of like any minor league system, I guess in any sport, is those guys get another shot to show off.
There's so many
NFL.
old names that we got to that got to be thrown back on the field, which is awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. So hopefully, like I guess the XFL can maybe learn from the AAF's mistakes, maybe, and hopefully they can keep a full season going, I guess, without having to suspend it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the XFL really does. I'm interested to see what it's like in comparison to the original XFL, what it's like in comparison to the NFL. Obviously, that's going to be the main thing. But, I mean, it's going to be interesting to what degree it's entertainment and to what degree it's straight up football. So that's going to be interesting. I think that it, at least for what it means for football projects going forward, is that the main goal from the beginning should be some type of way to draw the fans to get there. And I think that the AAF story as a whole, I think, gives hope for alternate football leagues, because I think that overall people reacted positively to it, even though it had its financial issues that resulted in this news right now.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, that's it with the AAF.
Yeah, so now we're gonna head back to baseball again. So Joey, with baseball season already underway, so you better get ready, I guess. And then we're gonna talk about Bryce Harper again.
Yeah.
So to start off, outfielder returned to Washington Tuesday with loud chorus of boos given him from, of course, being in Washington his whole career up until this year.
Yep.
In which he responded to his initial strikeout. Actually, I think he struck out his first two at bats, then hitting a home run and a pretty crazy bat flip. So how do you think the dynamic of Bryce Harper was changed in this game in our nation's capital?
I think that this is an interesting moment for baseball. I think that this is a turning point in how fans talk about baseball. As far as Bryce Harper, I feel like has completely solidified himself as a villain, at least for some people, and specifically, obviously, for Washington Nationals fans. And there's good reason for that. It's kind of the, I don't know. It's the Kevin Durant plot line of just leaving.
I think it's kind of cool, actually.
Right, which is I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing for the MLB to have, in their what they have to offer entertainment wise. I think that that's cool. I had a lot of fun watching him, at bat in Washington, and that was cool. Like, just seeing the fans booing him, and obviously like the response was pretty cool. I think that it changes baseball in a way where, it now all of a sudden it's starting to move in that basketball kind of superstar direction, which is really interesting. It's something we've seen building up with all these contracts over the offseason, and now it's becoming a even bigger thing. So I don't know. It's making me see it's making it seem like baseball is moving toward an NBA kind of player aesthetic, which I don't know if I like, but if it can be kept to the level where it is, at least right now, where there's a couple characters and it's spread out and there's still a bunch of contenders as far as teams go, and we don't get into a super team culture like we'd have in the NBA, I think it's kind of cool. And I think that it was fun to watch Bryce Harper kind of take on that new role and become kind of a new type of star player.
Yeah, so two things, I guess. Being in the same division, that just starts a rivalry, I guess. Being in the NL East, that's cool. I mean, you got the Phillies and the Nationals now. With Bryce Harper's on the Phillies, he's just going to be the villain for the next 10 years, 15 years, however long the contract is.
Yeah, he's gonna be playing.
He's gonna be playing for quite a long time, and yes, I think that's great for the game. I mean, there's just a lot of publicity towards Bryce right now and the game of baseball, which is great. And also the other thing, like you said, kind of like the recruitment kind of style in the NBA is kind of shifted to the MLB too.
Yeah.
I mean, you really can't build a super team, I guess, in baseball, but still, like the top players, they kind of can pick now. It's not like they couldn't before, like where they wanted to go, but like they can attract a lot of other players along with them at the same time. And with a lot of money being in the game, these top free agents, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, like free agency has just changed quickly in baseball, but still the top guys are getting their money, unlike some of the middle tier players. But still, these top guys can just set their markets, and it's fun to watch, but also the same time it's just kind of frustrating for these middle tier guys in the middle of the winter aren't getting any contracts. But
that's true. I mean, it's just overall a lot more freedom for players. I think that it's
changed in baseball.
That it's been kind of an overstep overall in sports as far as how much say players have in going where they want to go. Like Antonio Brown, like, I mean, and not to diverge too much, but Antonio Brown, like, not wanting to go to Buffalo and just kind of refusing to play for the Bills. Like that's where I find issues, at least, where it's like, I'm glad we're moving away from players becoming, slaves of their owners. And as far as, just, not really having as much control over what they can do.
They have a say now, I guess. Yeah, more independence.
They have a say now, and I'm glad that they do. I think that they might have too much of a say, though, as far as just, like, personal preferences of what team they want to go to. Not kind of, not really playing for their team. It's just, it's that kind of culture has changed in a way.
Like a Le'Veon Bell kind of situation.
Yeah.
Just give up on your team, and that just doesn't really blend well with the rest of the locker room or the coaches, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But so it's a
I get where they're coming from, though, I guess, wanting to maximize their potential, I guess. But still, yeah, definitely. That's the one downside, of course, is letting down the team or the management or a coach or all that.
Yeah, so it's just I don't know. It's a big change. I think that one of the benefits, though, is the Bryce Harper story, because I think he's already a love-hate player.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I think that, people either think he's one of the greatest players in the MLB, if not the greatest, and there's other people who just absolutely hate him. And I mean, at least for me, I can see both sides of it. I don't have that strong of an opinion of him, but I do have to say, watching those two things clash in Washington was awesome. So, on to the pro basketball court, as the news came in officially right once we left for the break that LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers will not be in the playoffs. So, Michael, what does this mean for LeBron's career long term? But at least in my opinion, more importantly, what does this mean for the NBA's playoff season this year?
Yeah, so if anything, I guess for him, I mean, the positive of it could be he's played in 8 straight finals, and he just kind of gets the rest now and to get the rest in June. In the later stage, I think he's out now. He's resting for the rest of the year. So that's kind of nice for him, I guess. He kind of gets some time off and just can rethink things. But for his resume as together, I think it just shows that the whole MJ. We could talk about this forever, but the MJ,
absolutely,
Jordan, or the MJ LeBron take, I guess, on who's the greatest player of all time. But definitely, I think this doesn't help his case not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
after getting so much attention from leaving Cleveland to heading to Los Angeles and setting such kind of lofty expectations for this season that it really just hasn't. I mean, I think that their record's going to end up very similar to what it was last year without LeBron, the Lakers. True. So definitely, it doesn't help him at all for his resume, and of course, trying to get back to another finals and winning another one, but so you have to wait another year, and I don't really think that he's not getting any closer. I don't think being with the Lakers, the team is not nowhere near talented to where his past teams were in Miami and even the early stages of Cleveland. I think that the team last year was just on his shoulders, and being in a weaker conference last year, that helped him to get back, but definitely now being in the Western Conference with the teams like the Warriors, of course, every year, and the Jazz and the other teams, Thunder, Trailblazers, whoever you pick. There's a lot of great teams in the Western Conference, and it's just going to be hard for LeBron to get back and get his next title that he can help build his own resume. But I think, the GOAT debate, I think, is kind of the door's been closed, I think, now. Yeah,
the door is starting to close on that. I agree. I think that for his career, it's not helpful at all as far as lots of the argument behind his greatness was that he carried a lot of teams that didn't have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And this year he had a team that didn't have a lot of talent, and at least he argued for his team, but they didn't make the playoffs. So I don't know if that's helpful for him. Maybe it will be more long term, as now he's kind of gotten settled into LA, and now he can really do business next year, but I don't think it's helpful as far as the NBA and playoffs this year. I think people's natural reaction is it's going to make the playoffs less exciting because LeBron's such a character that we've had in the playoffs for so long, and he's been a draw.
But there's so many new characters too.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm thinking, and I don't know how this is going to end up balancing out. I don't know what my NBA playoff watching experience is going to be this year, but I think we're going to have a fun, interesting playoff season this year, and I kind of look forward to that, where we're not going to really know what's going to happen after so many years of kind of predictability. So now that LeBron's not in the playoffs, the field's so much more open for a lot of teams that are good but not great.
Yeah.
So I'm
like
looking
guys
forward
like
to
Giannis
that.
and the Eastern Conference and Kyrie and those kind of guys. But yeah, what I think is too, what we kind of saw with the Lakers' downfall in the start of the second half of this year was, I think, the whole Anthony Davis trade rumors too were kind of the last straw, I guess, for the team. It just they kind of lost their locker room after that, after hearing that the whole basically Lakers team besides LeBron was for sale just to get Anthony Davis. I think a lot of players didn't really buy in after that, and they were kind of checked out. And I think that definitely did not help the Lakers at all to try and make the playoffs as an 8 or 7 seed or something like that. But yeah, definitely they're gonna have to start fresh, have some in-house meetings with the team, and
For sure.
just a fresh slate next year. And hopefully. I mean, it's always fun when the Lakers are good. It's always kind of bittersweet, I guess, kind of because no one wants to see the Lakers good, I guess.
They're such a classic team.
But it's always classic to see the greats of the sport always being good at the same time. It's always great to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're gonna move back to hockey, or I guess we haven't talked about hockey yet. But so we're gonna talk about the Blackhawks. So they were eliminated officially from 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. The first time since 2008 that the Hawks have missed the postseason in 2 seasons in a row. And a new coach and some unwillingness to tank makes the situation even more murky. So, Joey, how does Chicago move forward to rebuild their hockey excellence that they've built in the last couple of years?
So we've been kind of following the Hawks lately, and this has been a very, very interesting season. I think that a couple things here. Jeremy Colleton has done a surprisingly good job toward the end of the season, and they had the roots of a team that could contend in the playoffs, which was exciting. It was not consistent at all, and that was what ultimately was their downfall. And I think if you can't be consistent, you kind of deserve that, because you need consistency in the playoffs, especially. So that's kind of okay. I think that Jeremy Colleton's done a great job. I look forward to seeing how his career moves with the Hawks. That being said, I still strongly stand by my original stance with, I think that what we should have been talking about right now is that Coach Q is moving on to play for a different team. I mean, to coach for a different team.
Yep.
I was hoping for that. I think that would have been the best move for the Blackhawks as far as building and evolving forward. I think that it was just such a in the moment, heat of the moment decision to fire him 2 months into the season, and I don't see the severe problem with keeping him until the end of the year and then just kind of pushing him to sign with a different job. And they wouldn't fire him per se, but they'd basically fire him.
Yeah.
So it would just be that at the end of the year, and then they'd be able to move forward into rebuilding. So while Jeremy Colleton's done a great job, I think that they should have had better moves with Q. As far as the team, I'm just hoping that they don't do what the Red Wings used to do with the last couple of years.
Kind of hang in.
Just kind of hang in the middle.
Ride it out,
and,
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would just annoy me, especially because the main issue with the Red Wings, and I just hope that the Bowmans don't do this, and I know that they're probably too smart to do this, but considering their move with Coach Q, I don't know. But the main issue with the Red Wings is that they got held up in a bunch of long-term contracts that were no trade clauses. So they have a bunch of players on their team right now.
Yeah.
They're totally stuck with them. It's like a laughable 11 players or something. It's crazy for the Red Wings. So I just hope that the Hawks, and these two teams move in very, very similar directions. While they're in different conferences now. Now the Hawks have fallen. It's, they had their dynasty a little bit later, right after the Red Wings kind of fell off. And so now they're falling off, slightly after the Red Wings fell off. Knowing what the Red Wings did and knowing how they kind of hung on to every last bit of, success and that type of thing, where they just hung in the middle and they they just
they knew they weren't going to win, but
just barely
trying
to keep the streak alive, and then eventually they fell off and they didn't really embrace the tank. I just hope that they can learn from that and they can just know, the Red Wings are finally tanking now, which is fantastic, and they're going to have a great draft season. I look forward to that. I look forward to rebuilding. They re-signed Blashill. Fans are not liking that. I think that's fine. I think that he needs better players before we can judge his performance, but. I hope that the Hawks can go into that process way faster. I hope that they can, embrace the fact that, hey, it's over. We have a couple stars, but, some of them are aging and we need to, say our goodbyes in, a formal way before it gets ugly and, make sure that they can perform a full rebuild like they did before the dynasty started. Yeah. So that's at least my hope is
Definitely
that
makes sense.
They embrace the fact that that the dynasty's over and that they need to completely rebuild this team for future success. So they need to be willing to look farther forward than they might. So it's disappointing that they just barely missed the playoffs here because that kind of delays the process. So I hope that this type of season doesn't really happen again.
It's going to be harder. Yeah. It's harder definitely now to tear it all down. Like you said, we still have some greats. Of course, they have been part of our dynasty.
A couple who are young enough where we can keep them for good reason.
But other guys, I guess, it probably will. Like you kind of said, it's hard to get rid of them. I mean, to just close the book, slam the door shut. I guess basically on this chapter of Blackhawks hockey. Mm-hmm. But definitely, I think this probably was the last straw. I guess for this group. I guess it's because it's a lot of the similar guys from the last Stanley Cup run. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it's better to I guess embrace the tank now than it is to wait 3 years, not make the playoffs, and just have 3 years wasted. I guess so.
Right. Exactly.
Starting it earlier.
So this already kind of felt like, even though it was fun, it kind of felt like a year wasted, which is disappointing because they ultimately
and you don't want it. As a fan, that's the worst thing.
They ultimately didn't make the playoffs, and so there's that. So I just hope that Jeremy Colleton has proven his success. Maybe that was the point of the season. He's proven that he can actually be a decent coach, so that's good. But now he needs to build up the team in order to make actual success happen, and continuing to develop the team during the offseason. So yeah, that's basically it with Blackhawks hockey right now. So there was kind of a retirement frenzy that kind of happened in the middle of break here. Conor McGregor retired at one point, and then now he said he see you back in the octagon, so we have no idea what's going on with him. But that was the day after some arguably bigger news where tight end Rob Gronkowski announced that his 8-year NFL career will come to an end. So Michael, what does a loss like this mean for the future of the New England Patriots?
I think still, even without him, they're the Patriots. I mean, they figure it out. Bill Belichick probably. He'll find somebody with the draft picks he seems to amount every year. Like he can pick someone in the mid rounds and he'll be just fine probably. But I mean still Gronk, he's a different player than any other hole he's got to fill, probably arguably except like Tom Brady. But on their roster and some other guys like Julian Edelman, of course, is very valuable for their team. But I think he's definitely one of the best tight ends in NFL history. You could even say after even just in 8 years that he's played. And he definitely is. He's been through it all with the Patriots, with these Super Bowl runs, and even you get to see like his last catch, I believe, was a huge. I think it set the Patriots up to score right after he caught the reception in the. I think it was like a 30-yard reception that he had from Brady in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, and it just showed his final catch was huge for the Patriots to win that game, and he's definitely gonna be missed. He's a go-to guy for Tom Brady. He just can throw it up to him in any situation, in the third down, first down, whatever he's got to do. But yeah, he's gonna be missed definitely. You really can't replace a guy like Rob Gronkowski. But I don't know. I feel like it's not really over for him yet. I just feel like he's gonna come back for some reson. I don't know. The Patriots are struggling mid-season.
Kind of
I feel like Tommy will call him up and be like, Gronk, can you just come back for the rest of the year? And I think he would. I think he's gonna stay in shape, and I just don't see it. I think he's still got. I think he's 29 right now. I still think he definitely has some left in the tank, and of course injuries has been a problem for him, and I understand that you'd want kind of like Calvin Johnson did. Yeah. Not being the oldest, but still retiring just based on the injury history, which definitely makes sense for the future of his life out of football. But I think there could be one last. It's kind of a hot take, I guess. Could be kind of one last run, I think, and it's not over yet for Gronk. I
think that's a genuine possibility. We could have a lot more of a run than people might think here with him, and it's a quick end to a career.
If they start off like 3-5, I think
yeah,
Tom will call him up, be like, Gronk, I need you, man.
Yeah, I know, and I think that he's a contender on the Patriots, and he's an easy tool for Tom Brady to use for success, and that's something that they might need to have here. Considering, I guess Tom Brady is aging. I feel like that's kind of a weird thing to say, considering he's proven time and time again that
doesn't matter. I guess
it doesn't matter. I guess. And speaking of, he did also announce his retirement on April 1st, and his Twitter account, on his new Twitter. So at least in my opinion, I thought he probably won April Fool's Day on that, because I didn't see what the reaction was or how far his retirement spread before he obviously said that he was joking. But
another one was
pretty funny.
Was Zion announcing that he's gonna. I think someone said he's gonna head back for a sophomore season at Duke, and that kind of got people kind of worried, I think, in their team, especially fans that got their teams probably going to be in the top 3 lottery picks. So
yeah,
in the shuffle there. So that was pretty funny too. But yeah, definitely, it's always fun, I guess, and the Bears too with the 3-digit
numeral jerseys.
Yeah, that was funny.
I think the Mitch Trubisky jersey, the 110 jersey from that video, is going to be auctioned off. So
yeah, that was definitely
look
great job by them. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, it was
social media team.
Yeah, they're just amazing. We've talked about this before.
Being there, I guess they had House Hall.
We went to House Hall, and it was a cool experience. That was one of my favorite parts, at least, was meeting at least some of the social media team was,
and getting that follower
really cool. And yeah, the Force Scout got a follow,
on
which was
Twitter.
Cool.
Yeah, that was
so
great.
Yeah, anyway, as back to Rob Gronkowski, one last thing. As far as the New England Patriots, I don't think that there's a better team that could experience a star player announcing a short retirement like this, because they're just so ice cold with their players. Even if you're such a big star player, I think that they can so easily move on from you, and I think that they're set up in that way for situations like this. We see players leave the Patriots, and I feel like it constantly comes up like, oh, what could happen? What's going to happen with the Patriots if they don't have this guy? And then it doesn't matter. They
find a way. Yeah.
They find a way to fill those holes. So I don't know if this will mean much for the Patriots in the future. If it does, I think that you're right, and that there's a possibility that we could see more out of Gronk. So we'll see. So let's move on to They Don't Scout Like This. All right, so for this segment, we're dedicating all of our NCAA tournament coverage, kind of updates on what's going on in the bracket challenge, and we'll make sure to take a look at that, and then we'll kind of start to look forward to the Final Four this weekend, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I think what we should do is we should just kind of look at the bracket and go region by region, not look at individual games, but just make some observations here. Like, let's make, I don't know, 3 observations for every region. I think that probably makes sense. So, if we start in the East, I think that, at least for me, the big thing here coming out of the first round, the Belmont upset did not happen. The Liberty upset did happen, so there was that. But I think the biggest thing here was Duke kind of really experiencing a ton of luck throughout this entire regional play.
Yeah.
Against UCF.
Second round, it should have been kicked out.
They probably should have been. And then Virginia Tech, they weren't that far off either.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Definitely.
Same kind of play right at the rim, and
right, exactly.
Kind of full under pressure.
Weird. I've never seen a team get more lucky in close end of game situations repeatedly, and of course, it's the Duke Blue Devils who happen to have that luck. So. That's one of the many reasons why I don't like them. So, there's that. I do think it is kind of amazing, at least for me, how Zion has kind of let my hate for Duke kind of go down a little bit, which is really
super
interesting. I find him to be so likable, and that's why I'm so excited to see him in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to be the player who finally passes MJ. I'm rooting for that to happen. At least if he maintains the attitude that he's maintained in the college setting, where he's been, an absolute beast, an absolute star player who just loves playing the game, but also just loves being part of the team and doing what he needs to do to help his team win games. Unfortunately, though, they had their exit, Michigan State coming out of the East. You got to give them a lot of credit, right? I think that they played super well.
Yeah, so then Yeah, like you said with Zion, I mean, just even being in a conversation with being in like the next best thing since like LeBron James or like Michael Jordan, like you said. I mean, that just he's got a even he's just got a great head on his shoulders, and I mean, he definitely is he's not a selfish player at all.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's really even though he's the top recruit of course, but he's playing like he's got something to prove, and he's definitely is he's a player that you want to be with on any team, and he definitely isn't he isn't like a prima donna kind of a player, but he's a player that guys can rally around, and I would want to be on a team with Zion Williamson if he was on the floor with me. I mean,
yeah, for
definitely
sure.
he's just that kind of a talent on the court and off the court. So
yeah, for sure.
Great things to come from.
That was a fun region to watch. That Duke Michigan State game was a lot of fun in the Elite Eight there. And we'll see how Tom Izzo looks once he's back. Now that he's back in the Final Four, they had their huge stretch of Final Four appearances, and then it kind of dropped off for a while. Now they're finally actually back in the Final Four when they're a contender team. And we had that conversation about it. There's going to be an upset early, and things were looking kind of iffy with Bradley in the first round. But since then, there's kind of been no looking back, and they've looked very, very good, especially after that,
go Bradley, I guess.
Yeah, that close crunch time win against Duke in the regional final there. So moving on to the West, I mean, at least the big things I noticed.
Michigan.
Gonzaga. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. And Gonzaga moved all the way to the Elite Eight. They didn't have any issues. They didn't even play Syracuse, so that didn't happen. The Murray State upset happened. We had, let's see. Well, yeah, basically, Florida beat Nevada. That was the other thing. So Michigan did not have the second round loss with Nevada. That did not happen. But what did happen was their loss to Texas Tech. And yeah,
that was ugly.
Texas Tech ended up being your Final Four team, so this is kind of the wild region here. And I mean, I guess addressing it right off the top of the bat, since probably waiting on this, but my Michigan reaction at least is I was waiting for this game to happen. This game was bound to happen from the beginning, and I was just waiting to see when it did. I said in my bracket that it was going to happen in the Elite Eight, so I put them in the Final Four, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, turns out it happened one round early. I probably should have just put them in the Elite Eight by my logic, but I didn't do that. So I mean, I think that their team had significant offensive issues all year. They started their year way stronger than normal Beeline teams do, but they just stayed where they were. They never got better. They never got worse. They were just kind of, idling forward, and as teams got better, they just kind of stayed the same. And their offense really never showed too much significant improvement, and they were not able to run as many plays, move without the ball, do those things, and instead just shot in isolation, and their shooting did not cooperate with that, especially in this game. So that's why they experienced that loss.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't even think there's a takeaway from the game, the Texas Tech Michigan game. I think it was. I don't know. I feel like it was more of a bad night shooting than anything for.
Right.
It was defense. Of course, Texas Tech's one of the best in the country, if not the best. But I think it was honestly like defense get you so far, and I think that it was just Michigan. It was that was awful.
It was really not good. But and
give Texas Tech credit.
I was waiting for that to catch up to them because I knew that there were those holes there for sure that I was scared of, and that's why we saw other Michigan fans around the show. They picked them to lose in the second round, for example.
Yeah.
Lots of those fears because we were just waiting for this game to happen, and it turns out it did it against Texas Tech, a team that had that defense that kind of exposed all our flaws in the first place, and then on top of that, we had a bad night.
It gets stagnant very often, Michigan, and they just really don't have a purpose on the offensive. Of course, they're a great defensive team, but on the offensive side, way too many inconsistencies that kind of showed up over the year. They kind of, like you said, they were kind of an idle all year ever since they didn't get really better. They just idled forward, and they really didn't have a purpose, I guess, to get better on the offensive side. Yeah.
Yeah. So on the Texas Tech side of things, they did beat Gonzaga, so that's kind of exciting. Do you think? How much can we expect out of this Texas Tech team in the Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a great game. I think people are upset.
I think it'll be fun.
Duke's got out, Kentucky's out, the Blue Bloods, whatever. But I think, it's just it's great to see like a different team like a Texas Tech and the program that they built up down there in Texas. It's great to see after making a deep run last year in the tournament and then this year again. And I think it's for their program. They're going to be getting a lot of recruits now. It's got a very attractive destination for recruits in high school now. So I think if they can win this game, get to the finals, I think that anything's possible for them. But my pick is I'm still picking Michigan State, just with the way Cassius Winston's led their team behind Tom Izzo's coaching. I think those two definitely, with Izzo as the coach, and he's like, and then Winston's like another coach basically out there at the point. So I think Michigan State will be too much for them, but with the way they can shut down any team, Texas Tech, on the defense side, I think it's going to be a very close game. And definitely, if the season ends for them on Saturday, it's a phenomenal season for Texas Tech, and they got nothing to hang their head on. Hang their head on for sure.
They're going to be exciting for sure. In the South here, Virginia made it out, which was definitely interesting to see. Let's see, what did we have? UC Irvine upset happened. The Oregon upset happened. The Oregon Ducks ended up moving all the way to the Sweet 16, basically. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Purdue obviously had their presence and moved all the way to the Elite Eight. That wasn't too unexpected, but I mean, hey,
that was kind of. I was surprised the way he played.
The Big Ten had a great showing in this tournament, I mean, at least in my opinion. So I mean, while I'm upset that the Big Ten representation ended up being Michigan State, I mean, I think that I'm glad that the Big Ten has their presence in the Final Four because they deserved it. They had
that would have been great.
A lot of big moves.
You could have a Big Ten final. That would have been something. But yeah, definitely. I mean, for Purdue to play the way they did, I certainly, for myself, was not expecting them to even make it. I think I had them losing to Villanova. And Villanova, they looked horrible in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Savoy had them losing to Old Dominion. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of doubts about them.
Yeah,
and
just the way they played.
They showed
their track record, I guess, hasn't been the great. Hasn't been the best. But I think now, after making a deep run this time in the Elite Eight, I think definitely it's for Matt Painter. I think
a lot of credit to that coach.
Awesome for him. Yeah, I think it was his first Sweet 16 and of course Elite Eight, in his tenure at Purdue. So definitely. Yeah, that's wonderful for them, and I think it definitely for Edwards. I think I was at the game when they lost to Minnesota in the Big Ten. I think it was the first round, whatever. There, I think after the bye, whatever. So
right.
It was the second round, I guess, for Minnesota playing at the UC. But Edwards that team was ice cold that whole game.
Right,
and they couldn't make
second half
a basket and. I going into the tournament, I'm like, man, here we go, Purdue again. It's March. They're just going to fall under pressure like we've seen in the past. But Edwards really put the team on his back. And definitely, I think he's going to if he's going to go in the draft, he definitely helped his draft stock there for sure. And he just had ice in his veins in every shot he made against Virginia. That was remarkable. The bank in three, everything was going in for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, otherwise, Iowa did beat Cincinnati, so that's another upset. But moving on to the Midwest, North Carolina had their fall to Auburn. Like many of us felt about the Auburn kind of hot streak, did end up being the factor that caused them to move all the way to the Final Four. Ohio State had their Big Ten representation as they upset Iowa State. Let's see here. That's basically it. And then Kentucky had their loss to Auburn in the Elite Eight, so they did move all the way forward. So, I mean, any big takes out of the Midwest?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Auburn. Actually, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go with this. I think it was more of Kentucky. I think they kind of. It felt like that whole game they're just gonna break away from Auburn. But Auburn, it's just a testament to them how much I guess perseverance they've had just to overcome the injury of one of their better players in the Sweet 16 game against Kentucky. Or against that game was against North Carolina, that is, in the Sweet 16, and then they go and beat Kentucky in the next game in the Elite Eight, and it just shows, this team really just put them up against any difficulty, I guess, any situation, and they will come out and prove you wrong. And definitely, I think that's just a testament to the coaching staff there and the players there. But I think it was kind of disappointing, I think, for just watching that game for Kentucky. I think Coach Kell felt like that he had the team was just going to break away. I just felt like that they could pull away from Auburn at some point in that game, but they didn't. And it just felt like, I don't know, it was kind of weird just to see Auburn win. I just felt like Kentucky, okay, they're going to definitely show America that a blue blood is going to make it to the Final Four, and a great team like Kentucky is with P.J. Washington back and everything like that. But with and Hero, of course, is another great player on their team, but along with many other greats that they got, Reed Travis. But yeah, I think if anything to take away, it's kind of I guess kind of expected, but Auburn definitely is a team that the team that is well coached and can make a three. Man, they can
shoot. That's true. Yeah,
they're very, I guess, streaky kind of from three, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess if you can make like 10 out of 15 in a Sweet 16 game in the second half, which definitely propelled them to, of course, beat North Carolina and help them beat Duke. So or beat Kentucky.
Yep. So before we talk Final Four, we're going to do that in what to expect next week because those are predictions. But we're just going to kind of look at the bracket challenges here. The leader in the TFS bracket challenge right now is an account which we can't.
I think it was David Dorsett. I believe he's in my first period class.
Oh, really?
I think that was him. Yeah, there's not a name on it, I don't believe.
Yeah, there's not.
I think that's the one with Auburn winning, right?
Yeah, the one with Auburn winning is currently winning.
Yeah, so I think he's going to Auburn, so he's like, I'm just gonna pick Auburn to win, of course.
Yeah, so that's been benefiting him now. We'll see how that helps because if Auburn does end up winning, that's gonna be big for them. As far as the Sports Scouts guests here. Will Davis is on top right now. So out of all the guys who are on the show, Will Davis is on top. I don't know if he has that many long-term points, obviously, because his national champion and favorite in Duke is out. So there's that.
Still the lead though. That's impressive.
Yeah,
I'm with the Duke loss.
I'm in third, which I'm surprised about. You're in fifth right now. So we got an interesting slate right now. Peters is in last, of course. Shaw's not that far behind him.
Who did Shaw pick?
Shaw picked Duke to win, and he had Purdue in the Final Four, so that would have helped him a lot if that had happened. But so things are looking pretty interesting right now. We'll see what happens with the Final Four. But right now, let's move on to your scouting. So welcome to your scouting. As always, great segment. Make sure to send in your questions to make yourself a part of this segment at 224-544-9330, as always. And let's not waste any more time here, and let's get right into the first call. Oh, boy. Hold on one
Sounds like
guys.
Peters.
Yep, that's who it is. All right, here we go.
Hey, guys, long-time listener, first-time caller.
It is him.
Well, not a first-time caller.
Give him 11 runs to the bottom feeder of the AL. And then Wilson Contreras should be held solely responsible for that loss after he failed to block that last pitch from Pedro Strop. If Victor Caratini was in there, he would have easily blocked that, possibly made it out, and be able to...
Oh, boy. I lost him. But, I mean, you get the point.
We get the point, I guess.
Yeah, we get the point, I guess. He wants to fire Theo. He wants to clean house for the Cubs. So, I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that hot take that he's had for a while here?
I mean, like we talked about earlier, I guess, Ryan, you could probably go back and listen to the start of the show, but we talked about the bullpen. But it's definitely, there's just so many issues right now with the whole team, and offense is actually not a worry right now.
Right.
It's everything but offense, which we would not have said the wild card game against the Rockies when we couldn't get a hit the whole game. But I don't know. I think it's definitely too early. I mean, Strope's a great reliever. He's shown that he's a great trade by Epstein. But ever since we made the move to get Jason Hayward, I don't know. I just feel like Theo, of course we won a World Series, but I just think, I don't know. It just feels like that the edge that the Cubs have had, with trades and getting guys, developing them to get them to the majors, it really hasn't been the same. I think signing dumb contracts like guys like Tyler Chatwood, Yu Darvish. I mean, Hayward, I think it was still, of course, the famous speech he had, but a great defender. But on offense too, we're just been wasting money on guys that just haven't really panned out at all. Darvish probably is up there with. Okay, it's kind of early right now to say this, but one of the worst contracts in baseball history, even. With the way he just has the money, we get $180 million for, I think, 6 years and not even pitched 10 games a season.
Yeah,
give me a break.
That's the problem.
And Tyler Chatwood too. That is probably the worst signing I think Theo Epstein's had. There could be more, but definitely the edge they've had since 2015. That of course every move they've seemed to make was just golden, I guess, for the team, and they definitely took the league by storm in 2015, making the playoffs, making the NLCS. But I just think the bullpen, there's so many issues right now, and they're just gonna have to figure it out on the fly here. I mean, they didn't do anything in the winter, so I guess it's their mess they put themselves in. It was kind of anticipated this was going to happen, so they're going to have to find a way out of it. And signing Craig Kimbrell, I don't think is going to really help. I mean, sure, it'll help a little bit, but you got Brandon Morrow on the shelf for a month, and if you sign Kimbrell to a 5-year, $100 million deal, you're stuck with another huge contract for the next 5 years. And
for sure,
it just seems like money is just being wasted here. And Theo's kind of tried to close off the paychecks, I guess, this offseason, but still, I guess you're going to have to use the money now. You've burned enough of it for contracts that were bad, and we have to wake up here and kind of use the money in ways we need to use it, and not signing. I guess David Bodie, congratulations to him, but I mean the money has to be spent to the bullpen right now. And
that's for sure.
I'm not saying it was a bad signing, but definitely these next moves, money-wise, needs to go to the bullpen and nothing else. Yeah,
I don't know if executive action needs to be taken against Theo Epstein, but I think that would be a quick decision.
If anyone,
Peters is going to disagree with me, but I mean, I think that there needs to be a serious look. He's had a bad run, and I think that he needs to make sure he looks at making future action happen to solve these big problems that are here.
Yeah, Peters thinks that Jed Hoyer should be the next president of baseball operations when they fire Theo. So, but also I think Joe Maddon too. He's made some mistakes these last couple years. Of course, I think Theo's problem was that he wasn't getting hard or wasn't on the players hard enough throughout the year, and just kind of got complacent at the end of the year. And I think I think that was definitely a problem. But I think you can't blame Joe Maddon for the struggles of the bullpen, because he has no one really to work with, like as a shutdown guy in the 9th inning. And I think Joe really is getting the short end of the straw here. Being since he's been in Chicago, winning, I think the worst season he's had was last year. 95 games
for sure. But he even
remarkable.
He even won. He was even in the conversation for Coach of the Year, and we talked about this earlier. I think that his performance is kind of remarkable considering, kind of the situation he's been put in lately. So I mean, he's one of my favorite managers. I guess I'm biased in that way. I mean, obviously I'm wearing his T-shirt right now, so but
it's kind of fitting right now. I guess try not to suck.
Yeah, it is, and I think that he's just been put in a bad situation right now, and he's I think he's going to prove to be one of the greatest managers of all time, and I think that he needs to stay where he is to have future success, but there just needs to be some more front office action that needs to be taken. So let's move on to your scouting here. We don't have much more time, so we're just going to move on to just wait till next week. And I'm going to start here with, unfortunately, Michigan State will be your college basketball national champions this weekend. They're going to beat Virginia, so those are the teams that are going to be coming out of the Final Four. And it's unfortunate, but I might as well just say that Notre Dame wins the women's tournament tonight, so there's that. I guess I'm just picking rivals at this point, which is kind of sad. But, yeah, so we'll be talking about that next week.
I didn't even know they were playing tonight.
Yeah, that's getting started tonight. So
you are playing against UConn?
Yeah, they're playing against UConn.
That kind of makes sense, I guess.
And then
those two are always the best.
And then the national championship. So there's that. So yeah, we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also be getting excited for Stanley Cup playoff time next week. I'm going to help show out in an article that will be up soon. So there's that.
Yeah, next week we get a week closer to the draft. I think definitely it's going to start heating up. The trade rumors, the mock drafts, whatever, all the hoopla going into the draft. It's gonna be fun. I guess
put our foot into that. Yeah,
and of course the Cup situation. Hopefully we got more than one win when we talk next week. But
hopefully, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
I don't know. I'm a little worried. I mean, definitely it's been 5 games. We all have to chill out a little bit. We don't want to move too fast, but
definitely
you can see there's a problem that needs to be addressed with the bullpen and the pitching in general. So yeah, that's my just wait till next week.
Yep, so that's all we got today. Congrats for sticking through, as always, listening to this whole thing. We appreciate it. Subscribe to Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public. We're going to get even on more in the future, hopefully. Give us positive reviews. Subscribe to watch on YouTube. We're finally getting back on YouTube. We're being filmed again, which is awesome. And, of course, read the Forest Scout. There are a lot of good articles on there. Right now, the bottom 5 came out for April Fools, which was awesome. I loved that read.
Yeah, that was
awesome. Another Ask TFS, so freshmen, take a look at that.
There'll be a lot of new stuff too coming out now, being out of the break.
There'll be more. It's just it's slow coming out of the break. But there's Casey's TEDx review, which was pretty good. And Shaw's Bear Down Weekly is finally up on the site, so that's awesome. That show's been going on for a while, but now it's finally on the Forest Scout, so that's cool. So get ready for another week of Sports Scouts next week. And in the meantime, we'll keep on scouting.